You ready to do this, Steve?
Let's do it, Spence. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, Super Friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot tonight is Steve Madura.
I'm back!
We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 119. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Steve, welcome back, man.
Man, I love what you've done to the place. A woman's touch. Very nice.
Wait a minute. We don't have any...
The doilies? No? The pink
Brita
curtains?
does come by every now and again. That was her. That was her edition. Yeah.
Freaking 119, brother, man. You've grown. We were written on stone tablets when I was doing the show.
Right? Do you remember just like out of like just kind of let's rabbit trail right off the beginning, but do you remember like when we first started the podcast, I was literally like, most podcasts fail by episode 8. All I want to do is get to 10. All I want to do is get to 10, and here it is, 119.
This is like some diner restaurant. You're like, most restaurants failed in the first year. You still got the hairnet frying fries in the back.
Man, I gotta make it. Well, Steve, I'm glad you're here to join me, and we're gonna get into a lot of good stuff this week. But the last 2 weeks I was on vacation, and I recorded a bunch of episodes, and I came back, and some things have changed here at the Fortress of Nerditude, and I wanted to talk about this right up front, right off the bat, and just kind of get it out there. Stu's not here tonight, and he can't be here, but I wanted to give him an opportunity to explain what's going on and why. And so let's listen to a message that he's recorded for the Super Friends and for the show, so that we can kind of get caught up on what is going on.
That sounds great.
Hey there, Super Friends. Thanks for listening to the Fortress of Nerditude as always. Sorry I couldn't be with you tonight. Today, oh man, this time travel stuff that we do is crazy. It's difficult for me to send this message out to all of you, but unfortunately I need to take what is at least an indefinite leave of absence from the podcast. Boy, I just, there's 1,000 things to say, but I've always wanted to be open and vulnerable with you. This is me that you've gotten to know. And I guess really just the best explanation I can give is that I hurt someone that I love so much. And in evaluating that, looking at the cause of things and starting to unravel things and starting to unravel more things and layers of things, I just, I need to take a step back from things, and I need to kind of take some time for me and evaluate where I'm at and what I'm going to do. I wish I could do that from everything. Like, I would love to take a sabbatical from work, but that's not in the cards. Still got to pay the bills, but otherwise, just kind of focus on me and Morgana for a while and try to repair some damage that I've done. Getting into therapy, which... scary, I gotta say, but it's also an opportunity for me to rebuild and learn how to do some things better. It's significant enough that I need to do it, but hey, sometimes you need some help. So that's what I'm gonna do. I appreciate beyond measure everything that you have done for me, all the communication that we've shared, that you've spent time out of your busy day to listen to me, humbles me, and And Spencer, buddy, I can't say thanks enough for providing me an opportunity to join you with our super friends and do what we did. So I love the show. I love doing the show. Just not something I can put some energy to right now. So maybe I'll come back. Hopefully, if I do, there's an opening. Otherwise, I might have to do some battle royale with somebody. But I definitely look forward to seeing the show continue to grow. There's still a lot more to be done. I know there's some new directions you want to take the show, Spencer. I'm excited to hear what comes up, and I will miss you all so much. So enjoy the show. Thanks for listening to me. I'm still on Twitter, still on all the Facebooks and stuff. Thank you all. Love you all.
This is the second time I've listened to this message. I listened to it when Stu first sent it to me. And it is hard for me to listen to, just as hard as it was the first time, this time around as well.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I want to say to you, Stu, I support your decision. I want you to do what you need to do to take care of yourself and to take care of Morgana. Mental health and fixing things and getting help is the absolute best thing you possibly can do if that's what you need. And I want you to do that. And I'm here for you. And I know you know that. I mean, we've talked just a little bit, here in the last couple of days since I got back. But any time you want, you reach out to me. I can come over. We can just chat online. We can message, whatever. I'm here for you. I mean, my friend, my brother, I'm here for you. Steve, though, it's interesting because you and I were talking, and you were saying that you had some free time this week, and you said you wanted to chat, and I was like, well, hey, let's do this podcast thing. And it just so happens to be that Stu is taking a step back for all the best possible reasons. He needs to take care of himself. He's got some family things to take care of. And that's just something that you actually did. So hearing this, like, how does that strike you?
Well, first of all, I mean, I've only had a chance to interact with Stu a few times, a handful of times, but I hope that everybody can just feel the sincerity and the genuineness of his voice. And obviously, like Spencer said, he's doing what's best for him right now. I had to do the same. Mine was, health challenges with my father, and as being kind of the sole person in his life that could be there for him, and take care of him, I had to fulfill my role as a son. I was just there last night, actually, helping him and just being there for him. And life is a journey, and this was something, just like Stu said, that it's something that I dearly loved. It was an opportunity for my best friend and I to talk for an hour, and my wife couldn't say anything about it. Like, I'm gonna go downstairs and not be with everybody. Talk to you later. No, but it was a great excuse, and that's really, and we've talked about it before, but the reason that we did this podcast was, the pop culture and nerd culture thing. It was just a rude, just an opportunity to hang out with my friends, and obviously you guys have become my friends as well, and so my heart goes out to Stu. I hope he takes the time that he needs, gets the help that he needs, and like you said, can focus on himself and his daughter. He's got somebody that needs him just like my dad needs me. So do what you need to do, buddy. Love you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stu, know that you always have a place here in the Fortress of Nerditude, just like Steve knows that he always has a place here. Even if it's you can't come back, full time, but you just want to drop in every now and again, you are always welcome with open arms.
Crash on the virtual couch.
Right. And then, of course, Super Friends, just to kind of lay this out here, Stu leaving is obviously going to leave a hole in the show, just like when Steve left, it left a hole in the show. And I had to kind of do some evaluating and thinking of like what I wanted to do next and what the next steps were. And honestly, I don't know what that is right now. For the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, the show I still want to continue on. But I don't know in kind of what format, if it's going to, change some, if I'm going to look for another co-host, if maybe I'll switch it up a little bit, maybe if the format will change a little bit and we'll tweak some things. I kind of don't know exactly how that looks right now. It's just too early for me. It's just, this is all a little new, for me. This is, very, very, very recent. So I'll figure that out. And as things move along, you'll be along for the ride, and we'll continue to go forward like we have.
Well, and I think, Spence, it's also kind of the next chapter, and it can be an opportunity for, like Stu said, different directions you may want to take the show, new things you might want to do with the show, and oftentimes when a door closes, another opens, and this might be a great opportunity to do just that. So it's an exciting time. A sad time, obviously, but a bittersweet.
I'm definitely feeling more of the sad.
Yeah.
I really do feel that like when you left, like that was hard for me. Like it was something where I was like, how am I going to replace Steve? How am I going to replace my best friend that I've known, almost my entire life? And then Stu fell in my lap. Literally and metaphorically, sure, whatever. But
cost a few dollars, but whatever.
But Stu fell in my lap, and it just clicked, and it just worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is perfect. I'm like, this is exactly what the show needs. And Stu and I had some wonderful conversations about fatherhood and like not having parents, and trying to be better parents, and video game addiction, and just all sorts of things that we had some lighthearted episodes, and then we had some very deep episodes that were very touching and very meaningful. And so, yeah, I just don't, right now it's the loss thing, the loss of a buddy and a friend. But again, that's just on the podcast. It's not like, I'm not going to be talking to Stu and Stu's out of my life or something like that, because that's not the case. That's just not the case.
Right.
So anyway, that being said, Super Friends, we'll do this together, and we'll move forward. But tonight, Steve, you're back here with me for tonight only. I feel like should be like one night only.
Exactly.
Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah. Live at the tractor pull, Steve Madura. But you're back. What's going on? What's new? I mean, you were saying that you just saw your dad. How is your dad? How is Tim doing?
He's doing okay. He's doing okay. I can't say he's doing great. His respiratory issues continue to deteriorate, and COPD is not something you get better from. It's not like your lungs just kind of, they're pretty badly damaged. So, but his spirits are good. He's just a man of faith, and he always is quick to share that faith, and I love that about him. My son actually, so we were driving back from my mom's house, and it's been bitter cold here in Chicago, and so he needed some food actually, because it was hard for him to get out, and it's hard for him to breathe when it's that cold. So we brought him some food, and I was like, Dad, name it. What do you want? Like, just go crazy. Like, whatever. I'm your Peapod. I'm your Uber Eats. Whatever you want. He's like, I want a chocolate cake, and I want vanilla ice cream with some Hershey syrup. I'm like, okay, keep going. He's like, I want liverwurst, and I want bologna, and I want some. And he just kept going. I was like, all right. He's like, I want dates. Is that weird? I'm like, no. You got to be regular. Keep the dates coming. So like, I'm like, you don't mean like with like a 5'10" blonde dude. He's like, well, that'd be nice, but it'd probably kill my heart. It'd stop my heart. So we were able to do that.
That'd be a good way to go, though.
That's what I'm talking about. But what was really cute, what was really sweet is that...
I'm glad our wives don't listen to the podcast.
My wife stopped after episode 5. But what was sweet about it, though, is that my dad, just because of his condition, it's really hard for him to do a lot of anything, really. I mean, even walking to the door to get it, he was kind of almost winded. And Carter, my oldest son, saw that. My other kids were down in the car waiting because they were all asleep, but 12 years old. And while my dad and I are talking, Carter just kind of quietly on the side takes some paper towels and starts like mopping Grandpa's floor because he couldn't find a mop. And my dad was so touched by it. He's like, I don't know what other kid would do this, and just, he was really touched by it. And I walked out and I just said, Carter, you make your dad proud. And I said, because I know someday, I do this for my dad, and someday you're gonna have to do it for me. So I better be nice to you.
Right.
So
right.
Let's talk about that allowance. But actually, so as of last Thursday, I have been a man on my own with 4 children from ages 5 to 12.
Wow.
And my wife went out to Utah because her grandmother passed away, 98 years old. No reason to be sorry. She had a good run. And was a wonderful woman, but she passed away surrounded by family. And so my wife went out for the funeral last Thursday. So it is now whatever day it is. And I have been
almost a week.
It's been almost a week, and I've been like, I mean, the children look like extras in like Orphan Annie on Broadway. They're. I don't think we've been to school on time once. Like today, like we got up late, and I'm like, kids, get in the shower. I'm just barking out orders. I'm like, you shower, do her hair. I'm like doing somebody's ponytail. She's like, Daddy, it hurts. I'm like, I ain't a professional. You get what you pay for. And so we're going to school. I mean, people are half dressed, hair is still dripping out. People are crying. I throw like Go-Gurts at them, and I'm like, have your breakfast. It's like, this isn't breakfast. I'm like, be quiet. And we get to school 15 minutes late. I'm like, the truancy officer's like, they're waiting for me. And suddenly, like, they're getting out. I'm like, I am just a horrible I'm so bad at this. And then this neighbor pulls up with his kid, and I just look at him, and we have like this knowing look. We just kind of nod to each other. And I text him later. I'm like, man, it made my day to see you there, that I wasn't the only one. He's like, yeah, my wife's out of town. I'm like, me too. So
let me ask you this. You got all 4 kids. Carrie's gone for the week. Do you almost kind of feel like a recent widower in this case? Like,
right?
Like, how did she do all this? What's going on?
Seriously. I mean, newfound respect. And I always have respect for my wife. I know that she works really hard as a stay-at-home mom. She also does some side work for a division of my company, actually. But my gosh, like all of the stuff, just the schedule alone, she left me like a notepad full of schedules on an hour-by-hour basis. Like, Carter and Addison have a piano on this day, after-school singing group here, we have Cub Scouts this day, dance this day. I'm like, holy crap!
Isn't that when you see that, you're just like, I'm just tempted to throw the whole thing out the window.
Yeah.
Just get them pizza and then be like, kids, you tell your mom you did all the things you normally do.
Exactly. You did your homework, read your scripture, said your prayers. But actually, I kind of went above and beyond. So I had a movie night with pizza and 2 friends of each of the kids on Friday night. Then I did pizza and friends on Saturday night with 2 other kids and their friends. We made a movie with the kids because like the boys were like, well, we don't want to watch the My Little Pony movie or whatever. So like we made this really cool movie like Spence, like you and I used to make. It was nice. Like Carter
So they made a Highlander video at Northern Illinois parking lot at midnight.
Exactly. And I had my pants at my ankles. No. So we made this one where like I walk in and Addison is like behind this sheet, and then we have a light behind him, and he's like, "You're late." And I'm like, "Look, I'm sorry, Mr. Big." He's like, "Here's the job. You got to get the diamond before it falls into the wrong hands. And if you don't, your wife and kids, they're offed." It was pretty cool. And so like
nice.
we have this whole thing, and then I throw out at the end when I'm ambushed, I throw out this boogie bomb. It's I guess this Fortnite thing.
Fortnite. Yeah.
Well, Carter has this little like strobe light thing he has on his bike that he puts on and does like a big strobe disco type thing. So I threw that in, and it like goes off, and then everybody starts dancing to celebrate from a celebration from Kool and the Gang.
Nice.
So it ends pretty Steven Spencer-esque,
Did you film all of this? Like, I can watch this somewhere?
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. It's on my iPhone.
Nice.
I mean my Android. I don't use an iPhone. My gosh, I don't know why I said that. We'll cut that in post. But yeah. Steve Jobs rolling his grave. But anyways, yeah. So we and it was cool because my son recently made a video for my daughter who's in Girl Scouts, and basically was asking for donations, Girl Scout cookies for the troops. But he used this program that he uses in school called WeVideo, and like he edited everything, and he like put a voiceover over it, and he put sound effects and like different layers and levels, and I was really impressed. I was like, man, what are they teaching in school these days? What happened to arithmetic and abacus? But he was kind of doing what you do with the podcast. He edited the whole thing and spliced it all together, and I was really impressed. So anyway, so he's going to use those skills to make our video, and then it's going to go viral, baby.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
So things have been good though.
So when does Carrie get back? Like a couple more days?
She gets back tomorrow night, and what I have done, which I've dug my own grave here, I have a team of 8 painters coming to the house tomorrow to paint the entire house. I've got a guy coming to do tile, and I've already ordered new appliances for the kitchen. So while I'm also working tomorrow, so I'm going to try to have this whole thing done by the time she gets back. I pick her up at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So, and I haven't picked out paint colors yet. So after the podcast, guess what I'm doing?
Wait, you got painters coming tomorrow and you don't have paint?
At 7 a.m. I have paint, I just haven't chosen the colors yet. So I have neutral paint that I have to beeline it over to Sherwin-Williams at 7 a.m. when they open their frickin' doors and tell them what kind of colors I want. They put the colors in the blank paint, bring it back over. I got to get the kids to school. I got conference calls tomorrow.
I'm just gonna take a bet here. I'm gonna bet that you don't get the colors you want. You get half the colors you want. So the house is half painted. The appliances are only half installed. There's a problem. A part's missing, so you don't have a washing machine anymore or a dishwasher, so you can't wash your clothes in the dishwasher to call it good that way either. Right. And Carrie's going to come home and be like, what the heck, Steve? I gave you a list. And you're like, no, I did the list and I went above and beyond and pizza parties and movies and I was trying to surprise you with this big project, but the house is going to be like, it's gonna look like the Money Pit, the old Tom Hanks movie.
Oh, that's a great movie.
It's gonna look like the Money Pit, and you're like, I was just trying to.
I'm falling in the floor. I'm like, Brad, Bobad, Banana, Fana, Fofad.
You're just gonna hang your head and be like, I'm sorry, I'll never do this again.
The kids are dirty as Frenchmen. They have duct tape on their feet and walking around with feces on the wall. Who knows what's going on?
I'm putting $20 down that's where we're at tomorrow night.
Done.
Nice.
Yeah,
Easiest $20 I've ever made.
Right, exactly. I'll just PayPal you now. I'll Venmo it over. So anyways, that's me. So yeah, but good to be back. So fun. So excited to be asked, to be called up from the minor league, and good to be with you. So what about you? What's going on with you? We haven't talked in a while.
Well, that's because I haven't talked to anyone for the last 2 weeks, because for the first time in like 15 years, I shut my phone off for 2 weeks straight.
Wow.
I took this vacation.
Can you even do that?
Dude, I did it. I let everyone at work know. I said, I am shutting my phone off. I'm not going to be answering anything. Blah. Like, I gave everyone like a couple weeks notice. And then like at the 2-week mark, I was like, just a reminder. And then at the week mark, I was like, just a reminder. And then like come that Friday, like at 3:00 in the afternoon, I was like, and I'm out. And the funny thing is, like literally like 5 minutes later, I got an email from someone. But of course, I didn't find that out for like 2 whole weeks. And I was like,
your house is on fire. You're like,
The way I looked at it was this. If something was an emergency, there's backups. I've got a whole team backing me up back in Michigan. And we were sending out one of the technicians from Michigan to cover for a week while I was gone, since I was going to be gone for 2 weeks. I wasn't worried. I just wasn't worried. I was like, you know what? We're in a good place. You know, we've had a lot of upgrades to our system. It's been very stable. We haven't had any problems in a while, knock on wood. And I'm going to enjoy this vacation. So I did a week of Disney World with the kids. And the reason we did the Disney World is because we were going to go on this Disney cruise that my in-laws were paying for as their 40th anniversary celebration with all their kids and, you know, their husbands and wives and grandkids. So I figured, let's go to Orlando already and let's just do the Disney World thing. And if I'm going to be completely honest,
yeah,
I don't know that I do both of those things back to back. It was kind of a lot.
Right. And then I went to Euro Disney on the third week.
Exactly. It just was a lot. By the end of the Disney World week, all the walking around and the kids, you know, having to stand in lines, like it was just wearing on the kids, which of course then is like, it's hot, it's humid, and kids are melting down. They're like, I don't want to stand in this line. It's like, do you want to go on this ride? Yes, it's my favorite. Well, you got to stand in this line, and it's only 20 minutes long. Let's not complain. This is the shortest line we've seen. And 3 minutes into a 20-minute wait, they're like, you know, crying on the ground. It's like,
that's right.
You know, it's one of those things where I had a moment or two where the kids were being very, very, very much children that were throwing massive fits. And it was like, if this was my dad's day and age, I could have just given him a spanking right then and there, and we could have corrected this issue and we could have moved on. But you can't do that in public anymore.
No, you can't.
You can't do that. And
It's
so
sad, man. It's sad.
And it was not that I'm, saying like you should beat your children, but I'm like, we need a little corrective action. They're throwing a massive fit. A good swat on the bum, they would stop. They would stop immediately.
Oh, yeah.
It would be over. And so, of course, I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, when we get back to the hotel tonight, you're going to be in timeout. And tomorrow, and I said like a few times, I was like, if you don't stop throwing this fit right now, I'm going to make you sit on every park bench in Disney World. You will not ride another ride. Your vacation will be over. You will find out how boring Disney World can really be just by sitting on the benches and not eating any treats and not doing anything fun. And they're like, I don't want my vacation to be over. I'm like, then you best shape up.
Exactly. Because I'm spending $4,000 for you.
Yeah. Give them the crazy eye, like, you best shape up, boy.
That's right.
And that did typically work. But I mean, 6 days in the park was kind of a lot. And, the lines and the heat and everything. And it was just these moments where I'm like, oh my goodness. I wish that my kids took naps still. I wish I could take them back and do a break, but we didn't, and we couldn't because they don't take naps and haven't in a few years. So that was stressful towards the end.
Yeah.
Then we went on the Disney cruise, and the Disney cruise was so relaxing. I mean, it was just so relaxing. They pampered us. Like, we were sitting like for the big kind of dinner where you got like your waiter and assistant waiter. Mm-hmm. The adults are sitting on one side of the table. The kids are on the other entire side. The assistant waiter, her name was Maria, this lovely Peruvian woman who took care of our children. It was just a sweetheart. And I look over at one point and like she's talking to them and getting their orders for what they want. And I'm not having to like, what do you want? Do you want applesauce or do you want the corn? Do you want chicken nuggets or do you want mac and cheese? Do you want pizza? What do you want? Like, I didn't have to have that conversation once for an entire week. It was fabulous. But I look over at one point, and Jackson, my 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old, I look over and Maria is like literally like putting the spaghetti on the fork and spinning it for him and then cuts it so it's not hanging off. And then she like lays the fork down in his hand. He literally just like super nonchalant, like this is like totally normally, just lifts it to his mouth, puts it in, chews, puts it back down, and then she puts it and like, starts spinning again.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, and I looked over and I was like, Jackson. He turns and looks at me. I'm like, when we get back home, you have to use your own utensils again.
And you have to stop calling Maria mommy.
Oh, if I could have afforded to have her come live with us and raise the kids, I would have done it. I mean,
like, look, I don't know how this cruise gig is working out for you, but
man. But no, I get it. Like the cruises, they want you to have a good time. They want you to be on vacation. But like Disney cruises go like above and beyond because they really want you to like not do anything. Like I remember at one point I was like, oh, here, let me just take my tray. We were at the buffet. I was like, I'll just pick up my tray and I'll take my tray over. And some guy's like, no, sir, you're on vacation. You don't do this. You just relax. I'll take care of this for you. I'm like, it's literally 3 feet from me. I can stand, walk the 3 feet and put it in. He's like, no. That's my job. You let me do this. You're on vacation. You have no job right now. You have no worries. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess.
You put it that way. I mean, really.
Yeah. I need to go to the bathroom. Are you going to wipe for me? No, but it was wonderful. It was super relaxing. I'm glad we did the cruise after the Disney World and not the other way around because, it worked out better that way. But because of that, like my phone was off for 2 full weeks. I had a whole bunch of adventures. It would take me forever if I went into them all right now. But I had a bunch of adventures throughout this 2-week, vacation. But my phone was off. I didn't touch anything. I didn't look at anything. So I had all these podcasts recorded so that they could release, and they just released when they were supposed to. And the social media went out, and I didn't even bother, trying to be like, let me see if I can try to find a Wi-Fi signal somewhere on an island to, check in. It was as if the outside world didn't exist for 2 weeks.
So I have to ask. So that, I mean, that's a whole conversation in and of itself. But just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
What aside from the vacation aspect, what was that like? Like, and should everybody do that, right? I mean, like, we are so tied to it. What was that like?
It was probably the best thing I've ever done. I'm just not gonna. I mean, okay, I've done better things. Marrying my wife, having my children.
Yeah.
Outside of that stuff, no, it really was because we are so tied to technology, Steve. I mean, my cell phone is sitting here on my desk. I can look at it right now. My cell phone is never more than about 1.5 feet from me at all times now. Even when I sleep, it's on my nightstand about 1.5 feet from me, charging up. It's next to me or in my pocket all day throughout work, when I'm at home, everywhere I go, right? And in my job with IT, like, I'm kind of always on call. So it's a work need. But to be able to shut it off and not use it and not need it, like I got to do, like, I don't want to go into all this, but like I went scuba diving and I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just like thinking about like, okay, let's try to stay buoyant and let's look at all these fish and, remember to, breathe. I got to clear a little bit of water out of my mask and this and that. Like I was thinking about like what I was doing. I was focused in on that moment, partially because I was, 40 feet under the ocean and, I want to be present in what I was doing. I didn't want to make a mistake because, that could be bad.
Yeah.
But I was present in that moment, and I found that I was present in all of the moments for 2 weeks. Like, I was so tempted at times at Disney World when we're standing in lines to be like, well, let me just pull up some social media while we're waiting here, and I'll just kind of flip through Twitter, Facebook, and maybe check on stuff. But I just didn't. I was like, nope, that's not what I'm doing. It's off. I'm leaving it off. And I just talked with my kids, kind of played games with them, tried to help pass the time in some of the lines. Ended up talking to other parents and stuff that were kind of dealing with their kids that were having meltdowns, or our kids and their kids would start playing together randomly, or Charlie was bumming food off of this Brazilian couple one day when we were at Epcot. I mean, it's just...
Were they twirling the spaghetti for him as well? Gosh.
No. But but it was. I highly recommend it. Like if you can take the opportunity to take some sort of a vacation where you can get away from everything, turn your phone off, not be a slave to it. Let go of all social media. Let go of all technology. Just focus on yourself if you're on a vacation by yourself, or the person you're with, or your family, or whatever. Like, man, it was therapeutic. Like it really was. Like it felt like a wonderful therapy because I came back home like, yeah, totally refreshed. I felt good. And then I turned my phone back on. I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Because, the reality
2
of
hours of like,
oh, yes. Because you have to face real life. You come back to it and it's like, okay, my tan is starting to peel. I'm starting, my face and my back and my chest are starting to peel, and I'm dealing with emails again. Like real life is starting to kind of seep back in now, and it's just.
I think I know a leader of our collective church had encouraged us to do a social media fast recently, right? To just basically, a week or a month, I don't know what it was, a few weeks of just not doing that. And I think, what you did, I've had that same experience from different reasons. I think once I lost my phone and I had to get it replaced, but it took some time. And while it's really difficult to do in most of our jobs, right, we usually have to be accessible, at some point, I think there are opportunities when we can take a stand, we can say, this is the weekend. This is my time, or whatever your week dictates, however your week, if you're a teacher, if you're a fireman, however you nurse, but to say, this is my time. And from social media, obviously that's not tied to your job unless you're, a YouTube or something. I don't know, but like you can limit that. And I find that you hit on a key thing that I think is so important, is being present. We think that posting on Facebook or on Twitter about what we're doing makes us more present, and we'll in these memories or whatever, and that we want to share with the world, or getting selfies wherever we go, or taking pictures of our food and all this stuff. And it is a lie. You're not fully present. I found that even today, I was like texting with somebody and my daughter's talking to me, and I'm just kind of like, yeah. And I'm not even half listening. I'm like, 25% listening. Yeah. And it's even those small things where I need to put it down, look at my daughter in her eyes, and make sure that she knows that she's important to me.
Yeah, you can only actively listen to one person at a time.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a meeting. This is just one last example. We can move on. I was in a meeting with the president of my division, and I'm sitting kind of. We're in a long conference room table, and I'm sitting like next to him, such that when I'm looking at everybody else, I'm kind of seeing the back of kind of the side of his head, right? And he's talking to everybody. He's presenting in this meeting. He's talking to everybody while he's on his phone playing some kind of Tetris-style bejeweled game. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And he's like presenting in this like working lunch, and I'm just thinking like. How far has this gone? I recently went to Disney, and we're going to talk about this later in the show. What I found was so rewarding. I mean, Disney World is a melting pot of the world. It really is.
Right.
Like we met people from everywhere, from every country, and it was so cool to talk to them and just find out, hey, where are you from? Oh, you're from Geneva, Switzerland. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. How beautiful it must be there. And my kids got to talk to kids from other countries and stuff. And like just the fact of sitting down on a train or a plane and just burying your nose in your phone, you miss out on life, on human interaction. I'm so glad you got to do that and really got to enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, it was nice. Now here's the other thing. Today is my 40th birthday.
Woohoo!
And
happy birthday, you crazy mother!
All right, settle down. But something Brita told me the other day. She said, she felt bad because like we really didn't plan anything. Like tonight we just went out to dinner with my mom and Roger and the kids, and then had some cake and ice cream. And we didn't do like anything big because usually you do something kind of big for your 40th. But Brita told me the other day, she's like, listen, she's like, I know we're not doing anything big. She's like, but if you want to go on like on a vacation, like by yourself or maybe with Steve, and you want to go somewhere, she's like, figure out what you want to do and just plan it. She's like, let's make sure you do something big for your 40th. She's like, even though if it's not like immediately like on your birthday.
Right.
So Steve, we're gonna talk later about some things maybe we could possibly do, and you'll have to say, honey, Spencer turned 40 this year, and I just turned 40, so we're gonna go celebrate and we're gonna take a vacation without the kids. That's what I'm saying. That'd
be awesome.
We're gonna take a vacation without the kids, without the spouses. We haven't done something like this since we were in our early 20s, and we're just gonna take a vacation for a couple days, a week,
a weekend.
Yeah, something.
Buttless chaps across the plains. I can see it now.
We've done that before.
You're right. That box has long been checked.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
would that be? I am all in. That would be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
So
like a weekend.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah,
cool.
For sure.
Cool.
Anyway, let's get to killing some Bothans. What do you say, Steve?
Let's do it. Those Bothans deserve a bunch of killing.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Steve, we're into Rebel Intelligence. What do you have for me this week?
Well, I don't want to start on a sad note, but
I'm glad it's not me, so go ahead.
There we go. So Luke Perry, star of Beverly Hills 90210 and most recently Riverdale, the kind of Archie, edgy takeoff, passed away, as many of you probably know, on March 4th due to a stroke. And came as a bit of a shock, I think, to most people. He was young, he was seemingly healthy and whatnot, but I think 15% of stroke victims, as I read, take place of the younger variety. And I think about Luke Perry. My gosh, like when I was a kid, I snuck episodes of like 90210. So from 1990 to 2000, that he played Dylan McKay, which is probably what he's best known for. And really, as the outpourings have come through and all of the other actors have kind of made mention, many of them have called him kind of our generation's James Dean. And he was a teenage heartthrob. But what was interesting, and Spencer and I talked about this a little bit before the show, is that there were a lot of other movies that he was in. There are a lot of other things that he's done kind of in between 90210 and now.
Right.
Most poignantly in my mind was he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as the male lead, and
now, you mean the movie, not the TV show that was wildly
that's
popular.
correct. Christy Swanson.
There
and
it
then
is.
And then and then Lane Frost in 8 Seconds, as you remember,
Yep.
the wave.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then Red Rock gores him or whatever.
I think I have that movie on DVD.
That's a great movie, man. That is a
great
good movie.
Except the fact that he treats his wife like crap. Anyway.
That's true. But like,
No, that's not him. It's the character. Anyway, whatever.
Ray did the same thing. I mean, Johnny Cash, all those. Yeah. But yeah. So he passed away, and so our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and those that survived. But he has children. He has I think a fiance I saw, and just too young. He's 52 years old.
52, yeah. Like for some reason, I always think that he's like way older. Only because when he was on 90210, he was like 30, trying to like play like 18. So it's like
right,
yeah. But
so
anyway, that's too bad. It's unfortunate when someone dies unexpectedly when they're young. It's like you said with Carrie's like grandmother. Like she passed away. She was 98. She lived a good life. She had a
great life,
a nice full life. But 52, that seems so young, especially since I just hit 40 today. I'm like, that's only 12 years from now. That doesn't seem like a lot at all.
Got a lot of living left to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway,
so what do you have for us?
So let's start over here. Do you remember the old Suicide Squad movie?
Yeah, of course.
The movie that looked amazing in the trailer and then was hot garbage.
Yes.
Will Smith was in that. He played Deadshot, and we know that there's an upcoming sequel, but we kind of don't know a ton about it. But apparently Will Smith has said that he is not going to be in the sequel. Basically, they're noting that Variety, who's reporting this, basically saying that Will Smith was saying basically it's coming down to scheduling, that it's amicable, that there's no like hostility, but he's got other stuff going on. And even though they hadn't confirmed that the character of Deadshot was going to be back in the film for the sequel, because they're kind of talking about taking it in a whole new direction. If you remember James Gunn, who directed the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and then Marvel fired him, he's going to be doing the sequel to Suicide Squad. And so there's some hope that he may turn that around after the first one. But apparently Will Smith will not be part of that. So
Interesting. I wonder what else, if it really is true regarding schedule, what else he's working on, or if that's more just a excuse.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because obviously we know that there's no script yet. That they're still kind of working on that because James Gunn's going to, I think he's going to write and direct it, or at least maybe write part of it. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it feels like it's still kind of early on, but knowing that he was probably one of the biggest names attached to the first film, and that he's going to now be out, I don't know. It still could be good. It has to be better than the first one. I don't know how it... Anyway.
It's a low bar.
Yes, it's a very low bar.
Yeah. One thing being that we are obviously fathers that I saw popped up, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but there's some controversy this month, actually earlier in February, regarding YouTube. And there was a YouTuber that put out a video, Matt Watson, regarding just some the use of comments on YouTube and what he called kind of helping to expand, I guess, like a softcore pedophile ring. I don't know if you heard about this, but basically sexual predators are able to use comments to identify, certain videos with minors and all the rest. And so YouTube, as a reaction, has banned a bunch of users. They've suspended comments on any videos involving minors.
Really?
And what was a little sad about this, though, is that this has happened before, and they've really, not done much to do it. And they said, well, now they're accelerating the new launch of this kind of new comment classifier to be able to effectively identify and remove predatory comments, et cetera, et cetera. And, the question obviously would be asked, well, why didn't you accelerate this earlier if you knew that this was a problem and this was an option all along? And, the answer, unfortunately, is that, when advertisers like Disney and AT&T and makers of Fortnite are starting to pull their ads, well then, money talks. And so anyway, so that's just, it's out there, and people need to be aware of that, and obviously,
So I'm just gonna say, like,
know what your kids are doing.
Yeah, like, YouTube comments can be a very toxic place to go anyway.
Right.
There's not a lot of positivity that's there. And so I think that just disabling comments on anything that has a minor in it is probably a good idea for a few reasons. One, if minors are, like, okay, I have a nephew, my brother Josh and his son
Right. They do that.
record the Raising a Gamer.
Yeah.
And he's a minor. And even though I know his thing isn't very popular, it's not very big, people watch it. But if he was going there and like, looking at comments and all the comments were negative or slamming him, I mean, he's still young, still trying to, mold his identity and his self-worth. Like he could take a big hit on that. Just on that alone, like comment sections for youth could be really rough. Adults are, ideally a little better equipped to handle people saying bad things. We've dealt with it enough, and you can know, okay, well, that's their opinion. But I don't care about their opinion. I care about what my opinion is, right? And
right.
We understand our own value. So it can be a rough place anyway. But on top of that, if people are using it to try to identify other sexual predators or how to figure out how to do things they shouldn't be doing, I think this is a step in the right direction.
No, absolutely, and others have taken note. I mean, Facebook has done things to help. They always seem to have scandals coming out, but they've been fairly proactive to try to, stop things that are potentially dangerous to their users. Pinterest recently suspended, comments on anti-vaccinators, but just different things to be proactive in this day and age with how things can get out of control, very quickly. Just got to be proactive. So it was interesting though. You mentioned about comments. So one of the movies we watched was Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Yeah,
pizza nights.
Well, which is something Breed and I just recorded for a movie club like a week ago.
Oh, did you really?
Well, 2 weeks ago, but it
was good.
Released last week. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. But what was interesting is, as you recall, in that when he walks into a certain part of the internet and he sees all these comments, they're like, he's big and fat. I'm sick of seeing Ralph's face on everywhere, And same thing is like, my kids have some videos out there, and they're young, and you got to be careful. Yep. So the internet's a big place.
Yep.
So.
And there's a lot of positivity out there, but there's also a lot of negativity.
Amen. And that's why we do the Fortune Nerditude. Positivity!
Absolutely. Okay, Steve, so Time Warner, the whole merger at the AOL Time Warner, and like how that thing like went on for like 20 years, basically. Like it went on forever. Like the government was involved in it. Well, apparently now with some of the things that are happening and moving forward, the Time Warner merger that's going through is happening, and and so because of that, it's going to be now called Warner Media, and HBO is part of this process. And Richard Plepler, who is the chairman of HBO, is actually stepping down due to basically the takeover, the AT&T takeover over the Time Warner, and he's basically, this is like capping off like 30 years, like in his 30-year career while he's been there, like he's spearheaded a bunch of projects, including things like The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, like the HBO Go, the HBO, service, for streaming all of their stuff. Like he's really been there through all of like the big resurgence in like quality TV that like people wanted to take it to HBO because they knew they were doing good stuff over there and they were putting in, real work, real money behind stuff and making really, really quality products. He's been there the entire time. And basically, though, he's just kind of saying, he put out a statement that basically says, like, it's been my great joy and professional life to share this ride with you over these many years, to be the CEO. I don't have words to express gratitude for the support and talent that made our success together possible, but suffice it to say, my love for this place and all of you is deeply a part of me and will last a lifetime. So he's, very politically, very thankful and grateful to all the people he worked with. But basically he just says like, it was just the right time for him to leave the company. And my guess is that, AT&T is bringing in someone else.
Right.
Either that or the writing's on the wall, and he knew he wasn't going to be the guy, and so he's like, I've been the man for so long. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to have to report to someone else. So anyway, I hope that what this doesn't do is that I hope we don't see a big shakeup, because sometimes when you get these big corporate mergers or buyouts, that they shake things up, and sometimes the quality of the content that's produced can suffer because, the people that were at the helm, the visionaries change. And then over time, there's not that strong hand on the wheel, and the vision can be lost a little bit, and then quality can suffer. So hopefully that's not what HBO goes through. I don't think it would, because they're pretty strong, but I mean, it seemed like this guy was really kind of involved in a lot of stuff.
And how long did you say he was at the helm?
3
decades?
30 years, 3 decades.
I mean, oh my gosh, you think about Band of Brothers, all the things that HBO's cranked out that have been phenomenal. Like,
Band of Brothers, Game of Thrones, The Wire, overseen,
Sopranos.
The Sopranos, the HBO Go and HBO Now, Veep, like all these big things. So
I'm sure by now he's probably like, I'm going to go enjoy the money that I've made over 3 decades.
I hope so. And I can recommend a couple places in the Caribbean if you'd like.
That's right. Very cool. One thing that I had was regarding Captain Marvel. I don't know. Have you bought your tickets yet, by the way?
I do. Breed and I are going Friday night to go see this.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
And when you bought your tickets, did you look up any reviews? Did you see? I mean, you've seen the trailers, obviously.
I've seen the trailers, and I'm really hyped for it.
Any pre-reviews? Any pre?
The embargo.
Media?
The embargo just dropped today on the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen some reviews, and I kind of know a little bit about what you're talking about. But why don't you tell the Super Friends anyway?
So Rotten Tomatoes, obviously movie review center hub, announced that moving forward, they're going to take some steps to more accurately and authentically represent the voice of fans. They've had basically some trolling that's happened that has, specifically on Captain America, and they made a general public because of this, that could only be described as sexism fueled by an attempt to convince people the movie was bad.
You mean Captain Marvel? Yeah.
Captain Marvel, I'm sorry, about a female superhero. So they're trying to take action. I mean, similar to what we just talked about with YouTube, trying to make action to disable the comment section prior to a movie's release. So, things that are non-constructive and trolling, bordering on trolling, they're just going to try to circumvent.
So what's interesting about this, Steve, is that Rotten Tomatoes is really an aggregator, right? I mean, it goes out there and says, like, here is what all of the reviewers that reviewed it gave it reviews, and then they say, okay, they reviewed it this way, so it's a fresh rating or a rotten rating. And the funny thing is that then they started over time saying, like, let's let, the users kind of do a rating. So, like, you could say, like, well, hey, the critics said that this was 64% fresh, but users are saying it's 84%, which typically means that the people that went and saw it and that decided to go on the website and talk about it liked it better than the critics. Critics, though, also get paid to be more critical and talk about some different things that sometimes people say, like, yeah, I liked it. It was a good movie. I had a lot of fun. I ate some popcorn. Whereas critics are like, the plot was kind of a little weak in points. The pacing got slow and a little clunky at times, but it did have some great, like, they'll get into some of the more technical stuff and they'll talk about a lot of other things. So sometimes critics, is good to follow. Sometimes, sometimes the critics have it wrong versus like what the majority of, the people that go see movies think. But how can you really realistically have fans review movies that they haven't seen yet, that hasn't been released?
Exactly.
That's the problem I see with all this.
Well, and they're removing the want to see ratings as well. Same thing before people have seen it, and it only makes sense. I mean, that, and they've had similar kind of issues with, Black Panther and Star Wars Last Jedi and other things. So I think it's a good move. I think, people go there obviously, and it can affect a movie's performance if you see, 20% ratings and it's not accurate. That could have a huge impact on the bottom line at the box office. So,
and believe me, all those studios, they want good reviews because they know that Rotten Tomatoes score can definitely influence if people are going to go out and see the movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's the same as buying a car. You go and look at the reviews.
There's a reason why movies that are confident that they're going to be successful will drop their review embargo sometime early in the week before the movie releases, whereas movies that have from pre-screenings know that they're going to get reviewed horribly.
That's right.
Drop the embargo the day the movie releases.
They actually just extend the embargo. They're 2 weeks after it's released.
Right.
It's a bag of surprises.
Because it's become a business decision now. Well, that's good. That sounds like it's probably a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll let you know how it is because I'm looking forward to it and I think it looks cool. There's a lot of 90s nostalgia that I think is going to be in this thing. So
they know their audience.
Anyways, yes, for sure. Steve, you haven't watched the new Star Trek Discovery show, have you?
I've not.
I know when you were on the podcast, we kind of poo-pooed the whole idea because it's behind the CBS All Access paywall and whatnot. And I was like, I'm not going to pay for this thing. I've seen the first season of the show. It is fan-freaking-tastic.
You're paying for it?
No. But I've seen the first season.
Speaking of bottom lines, and
Stu is paying for it, and I've been over to his house to see the first episode of the second season. And anyway, so the second season's going on right now. Good news if you are a Star Trek Discovery fan, it has been renewed for another season. And that's always a good thing when something you love and that you're enjoying and gets renewed. You're like, yes, validation that other people like what you like. Enough that they want to continue doing it because it's making money. Well, Alex Kurtzman, who's been the showrunner for the first two seasons, apparently is not going to be the only showrunner anymore. They're kind of shaking things up a little bit. They're going to bring on Michelle Paradise, who kind of came on board during the second season. She's going to help kind of co-show run the show in the second season. The show's had a little bit of shakeup. In the first season, there was Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harberts. They were kind of running the show, and then Alex Kurtzman, was kind of involved and helping. And then he's kind of running the second season, and now he's going to have someone else coming in. So I don't know that really means that we're necessarily going to see a big shakeup in the tone of the show overall, but it just sounds like maybe he needs some help, and as this thing continues to grow and get more popular and whatnot, that they're betting that there's some help needed. So
okay. Well, I mean, obviously he's doing something right, so he's not getting edged out. He's not getting squeezed out.
Nope, it's not.
Just getting a little support.
Nope, just getting a little support. But it is a third season, and that's always good to hear. So.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's great. It's always nice to see a fresh Star Trek franchise.
Brita watched it and she loved it. Like at first she's like, okay. She's like, it's good so far. It's kind of starting to build, but it's a little slow. And then something happens and she's like, whoa, I did not expect that to happen. And the show kind of takes a hard left turn. And from that point on, the show really just got amazing. And from that point on, every episode was just like a banging episode. It was hot and wonderful. And Brita was super just into it. I was like, I told you this thing was good. So I'll have to, have you over sometime so you can watch it.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Anyway, that's the last thing I had in Rebel Intelligence. Did you have anything else?
I am good to go.
All right. Well, this is interesting because I'm kind of at this place where we had 2 weeks and I didn't really put out questions of the week for the 2 weeks I was gone because it was going to be kind of hard, but we did kind of get some answers and some feedback. So I'm going to try to do this somewhat in a manner that would make sense, but whatever, maybe not. So 2 weeks ago, episode 117, Stu and I had a conversation about TV theme music. And we talked about some of our favorite TV theme shows, what makes a good TV theme song, like
synthesizers.
Synthesizers, yes. How they basically kind of changed from like the 80s and 90s to like now where they're like, only maybe 15, 20 seconds long, and sometimes they're not like, don't have any lyrics. Whereas like they used to be like 30 seconds to a minute long. And would
have lyrics.
And they were catchy and stuff. And anyway, we had a conversation about that. And so let's go to the emails. Peter Christensen says, "Dear nerds, greetings from France. No sign of nodal pats, but he roams the whole world. We spent a week in Paris full of museums, walking, and pastries. It's a crazy city in so many ways, modern and full of history, rich and poor, peaceful and bustling. It is a very instructive contrast with America. Hands down, my favorite part of our day was the trip to Normandy. The beaches and towns are gorgeous, and the American cemetery is the most powerful, moving experience I've had in a very, very long time. I felt it as soon as we got on the grounds, well before I could see anything. If it's at all interesting, I guarantee on my soul that you will love it." Part of the thing is I was talking about maybe places I'd like to go to celebrate my 40th, and there was like cheap tickets to Paris, like $450 round trip.
Really?
And I don't really, care to necessarily go to Paris, but I thought Normandy might be kind of cool. And so it's awesome that like Peter literally was going to France like the next week. And so he went there. So I'm really glad to hear that he had a wonderful experience and that it was moving. He goes on to say, 2 great TV theme songs you didn't mention, which we mentioned quite a lot, but there's plenty we couldn't. He says, 30 Rock. He says, I can hear the tenor sax as I type. He says, and the X-Men cartoon from the 90s. That music was how I knew that Saturday morning cartoons got real. He says, I appreciate you working around your life to give a steady release schedule. Au revoir, Pierre Christensen.
Good man.
So Steve, real quick, what would you say is like your like throwback, like favorite TV theme song?
Oh, hands down. Making your way in the world today takes everything you got.
I love Cheers.
I mean, come on. Like, I sing that like daily. I'm like, every day I walk in the office.
That was one of my top 5. Stu did not like that though. He
what?
No, he's like, it's cheesy.
It's like the working man's song.
He's like, it's cheesy, it's bad.
Yeah,
like,
it is. It is cheesy. That's the point.
One of the other ones though, I definitely said was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because no matter when that thing comes on, like everyone like jumps in and sings the whole thing. Anyway, Jason Bolth over on Facebook says, "Hey nerds, the 3 theme songs for TV shows I like are number 1, Smallville. I love that one. Somebody save me. Number 2 is Veronica Mars. This is the first 2 seasons version, which I never watched that one, so I don't know one. It says number 3, The Office.
Oh, that is a good one. That's good.
The Office was a catchy theme song, and I kind of forgot about that. Anyway, over on Twitter, Nerdish01000011 at dspin67 says the Jeffersons have to make that list. If not, you're wrong. Yeah. Moving on up to the top.
East side. To a deluxe apartment in the sky. We're moving on up to the top. Yep.
That's such a good one too. Like, yeah,
we all stop at the same point. I'm like, I don't know anymore.
It's bird don't burn in the kitchen, on the grill. I don't remember. No, seriously, like there was, man, like just thinking back, like you and I could probably talk about just that alone for hours, but we're not going to. But like,
what Seinfeld? Do you guys talk about that?
Oh, we didn't bring up Seinfeld because I was
electric bass.
We're trying to limit it to like the top 5.
Okay.
So anyway, there's a lot of good TV theme songs, and that's something I love dearly. Anyway, that was episode 117. I didn't really ask the question, but I'm glad Super Friends like you wanted to dive in. So now we go to episode 118, which was the movie club Brita and I recorded on Ralph Breaks the Internet. So we go back again to emails. Peter Christensen, he says, "Dear nerds, I agree with your mixed reaction to the live-action remakes." We were talking about kind of the Disney live-action. He says, "Can we just consider Aquaman the gritty live-action gender-swapped reboot of The Little Mermaid?" I like that.
Oh, he is awesome.
He says,
my gosh.
"As an original movie, yes, I know it's from a comic. I would recommend seen Alita Battle Angel. It looked great, the characters were interesting, and the action was insane. It's more violent and edgy than MCU movies, and maybe the best cyborg movie since RoboCop. My only complaint is that they stuffed a little too much into it. Apparently, the movie covers 4 of the 11 issues of its source material, and it feels like they could have settled for 3. I'm planning to see it at least once more in theaters. I kind of wanted to see that originally, and then I saw more reviews, and like, there was kind of that uncanny valley thing with her, and I know she's supposed to be an android, but like, it felt like it was too close to trying to approximate human. I don't know. I may just need to get over that and see it. Anyway, he says, my family also loved Ralph Breaks the Internet. As a computer nerd, it did an amazing job explaining the internet in a fairly accurate, legible way. The whole movie, especially the "Oh My Disney" part, was so clearly written by people who know and love the material. For people who know and love the material, clearly written by people who know and love the material. Was solely written clearly. Okay, sorry, Peter. I'm just killing this here. Clearly written by people who know and love the material for people who know and love the material. I also hurt myself laughing during the Slaughter Race song. But my favorite part was when the credits started. My daughter leaned over and said, "There was a scene from a preview that wasn't in the movie. I hate it when they do that." Right as she finished talking, the mid-credits scene began and the baby Moana was in the back of the minivan and said, "Mama, there was a scene from a preview that wasn't in the movie, and that makes me sad." We were all crying, laughing at how well Disney knows their audience.
That is awesome.
It says, fun experience afterwards. My 7-year-old son loves Gal Gadot's character Shank, and we found this out in church when he started chanting her name. No warning or lead-in, and it took me a second to figure out what he was doing. Let me tell you, all your parenting mistakes flash before your eyes when your child is chanting Shank, Shank, Shank during church. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Always a laugh, man.
Those little
Rider.
rascal children definitely can keep you on your toes. We had one more comment, and let's see if I can find it real quick. It was back over on Twitter, and I do believe it was DSpin67 who basically said something like he hated Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Wow.
It was just like, I hated it.
Them strong words.
And I was like, really? Yeah. It said, I did not enjoy Ralph Breaks the Internet at all. And then there's a little GIF that says, hated it. I don't know. I'm actually curious to know why you didn't enjoy it at all. Like, I want to hear more. You can send that to me personally. I'm just curious as to why. Because I found it so enjoyable on so many levels. I don't think it was as good as the first one. And maybe because the first one was new and the whole kind of concept was kind of fresh. And this is, it's a sequel. But still, there was a lot of stuff in it that I really did enjoy. The whole kind of aspect of like, him trying to figure out the internet and like trying to figure out like how to become popular on the internet and how to like parlay that into like making money, which is like what YouTubers do and Patreon. And anyway,
I thought that part was hilarious when he's like, do bee puns. He's like, I'll do bee puns.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then of course, the whole Rickroll at the end of the movie. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, and I also thought the Disney princess one was funny as well. And he's like, I don't have a mom. He's like, neither do we.
That whole "Oh My Disney" part, that whole section was just
that part was clever,
brilliant. Anyway, Super Friends, we love interacting with you on a weekly basis. It is literally one of the highlights of the show. It's what we look forward to. So please keep that coming in. You can reach us at all of our normal places. If you want to put in something in more of long form, send it in as an email, forwardofnerd@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, which is facebook.com/forwardofnerd. Twitter, @forwardofnerd. If you want to call into the voicemail, it's 801-477-7687. Or you also can get Also, you can get us on Instagram, Forward of Nerd on Instagram. So, we're all over the place, baby.
My gosh.
We are out there. Steve, our super friends, they come in week after week for us. They listen, they tell their friends. But if there was something they could do for us this week, what would that be?
I'm thinking real hard. You got to rate us on iTunes, baby. Put some ratings out there. And if you don't, we'll break your internet.
Ooh.
I don't know. Was that an innuendo? I don't even know what that was.
No, I don't think that was an innuendo.
Is it too dark? Did it get dark there?
I mean, yeah, it's a little threatening. I'm not going to listen to this podcast anymore. They're going to break the internet.
That's right. Al Gore. Yeah. But by the way, we haven't even told the Super Friends, because I'm so out of practice with my rig and everything and all my pieces to make this technology work or strewn about my home. I couldn't find my headphones today, so I had to pilfer through my daughter's backpack. Spencer, why don't you tell him what I'm toting?
Steve looks like he's Miss Piggy. He's wearing these pink headphones that have like little pig ears on the top of them. So
it's
in honor of that, Miss Piggy, what are you doing
Kermie,
on the
Kermie.
purchase of Nerditude?
I love you, Kermie. Yeah, they're about 7 sizes too small, and but they I kind of like them.
They're gonna leave a mark.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
They're cutting into my head.
That's right.
So Steve, you and I kind of had this talk the other day, and we were talking about my vacation. You were talking about your vacation, and I kind of thought it was interesting because obviously, like, one of our favorite kind of film franchises, National Lampoon's Vacation movies. Obviously the first one, Vacation, and then European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, and Vegas Vacation. They all seem to kind of highlight the great kind of concept of like the American vacation and like the dad feeling like, he's got to provide for his kid, his kids this fantastic vacation. He's got to make it special. And that kind of, led into like you and I kind of talking about our vacations that we just took our kids on. So let me ask you, why do you think, because obviously you felt it, I felt it, and they've made movies about this thing. Why do you think we have this idea that as fathers, that we need to provide our children with like a big vacation every few years or, a few times during their childhood?
I think it definitely, has something to do with kind of the manly protective, I don't know if it's protective nature, but just kind of the leading, right? Like, so we went to Disney like you did, and this whole fast pass business, it's totally new to me. Like, I haven't been to Disney since 96. And so we go there and you've got to get the kiosk, you got to get the app, you got to do all this stuff. And like Carrie, my wife, she was just like, I don't know, and I don't want to know. I was like, I'll save the day, and so I figured out, and so I'm like directing this like group of lemmings, like, follow me, lemmings! We've got to be to this ride in, 12 minutes to get our ride time and all the rest. But there was definitely something empowering as a dad to be like, I've got to, this unifying, Americana, like Disney vacation, right? And I think above the traditional, like, road trip, which is how my vacations were as growing up. I think Disney has done a very, very, very good job at making it almost criminal to not bring your kids to Disney at some point. I mean, literally, like, I'm like, Carrie, I really want to go to this place and this place and this place that's foreign and this place that's foreign, but we have to go to Disney first, or else I guess DCFS could like take us away or something.
Right. Our kids have been revoked. Aww.
I mean, seriously. And our kids are like, Daddy, don't you love us? I'm like, I do, but just not that much. Yeah. I mean, do you feel the same way? I mean, you've been to Disney several times with your kids, and I know your wife's a big Disney fan, but...
Right. Breeda's a huge Disney fan. I've taken the boys to Disneyland 3 times now, and Disney World 1 time, and then we just did this Disney cruise. And I definitely feel like it's a safe place to do a family vacation. Like, what you're getting, right? Like, that like the Disney brand is representative of kind of like family values and wholesome entertainment. And that there's going to be rides that they can go on, and that there's going to be characters that they can meet, and that the place is going to be clean and well maintained. And that when your kid is having a meltdown, the people around you understand because they've got kids and they've been there, whether they're there currently in their life or previously. Like, you're not going to get the kind of like the people that just kind of looking like, why didn't you do something with your kid? Like you may get if you were just like at a movie theater and your kid starts having a meltdown.
Sure. Right.
And so I feel like it does kind of feel like the safe thing to do to say like, hey, I'm just going to take my kids to Disneyland or Disney World because it's, it's just Disney. Like it feels family.
But I kind of have like this hard issue of this problem with like the double-edged sword. So it's definitely family, and it's definitely all of those things, family values, and you feel so good, the Disney brand. And at the same time, the cost of a Disney vacation is astronomical. And I don't understand and I have a colleague who she takes her family there every single year, from Chicago all the way down to Orlando, every single year for a week. And I'm like, how do you justify that? How do you do that? I mean, it's, I would say for a family of, 2 kids, 2 adults, you can't get out of there for $4,000, maybe $45,000, $5,000, depending on where you stay, depending on, where you eat, airfare and all that jazz.
We stayed at kind of what's considered like the more budgety kind of hotels. It was an on-premise Disney World hotel. It was Pop Century. It was nice. Mm-hmm. It was a nice place. It wasn't like, the Ritz. It wasn't like the most luxurious, but it did what it needed to do. And it was clean and it was well maintained. But that plus the dining plan, which is like you can prepay so that you get like, sit down meals with, table service, or just the quick service meals and some snacks every day, instead of like having just to pay it. Which you can actually save money if you do that. But like we did the dining plan, we were there for 6 days, 7 nights staying there, but 6 days in the park. And it was almost like $4,300. And it's my wife and I and 2 kids. So now granted, the longer you stay, like the cheaper the tickets get to the park, the more days you're there.
Right.
So like, if you're staying there for 10 days, you're getting those last like 3 or 4 days for like $10. It's like super, super cheap, but you still have to pay for the hotel. Yep. So you're not wrong, Steve. Like the cost to doing a Disney vacation is high. I won't even begin to tell you like what the cruise is, because it's like probably
I can only
a
imagine.
Disney cruise is probably about 3 times the cost of like Carnival cruises. But the level of detail and what they do for you and all the extra amenities is really worth that price tag. It really is. But it's big. So like your question, getting back to your question, like how can a family afford to do that year after year? I think that first of all, we have to put ourselves in the mentality of we're going to go on a vacation every year. I know I didn't grow up that way, and I know you didn't grow up that way. Can you remember how many vacations, like a destination vacations you actually had during your childhood?
I can't count on 2 fingers, but what I can tell you is that
fingers?
If we did do,
wow,
sorry, 2 hands. My parents didn't love me neither. But whenever we did do a vacation, it was always, it was like to go visit family. It was a road trip. It was it wasn't like, we weren't going to Europe. It was road trip type things, and it was probably very, camping along the way, or we had a pop-up trailer that we would use, things like that. So
we would do the same thing. It was always like family visits, and it was like maybe once every other year. One time we went to Disney World. I was 15. That's the only like destination vacation that we ever took. All the other ones were like, we're going to go see family in Utah. We're going to go see family in Indiana. We're driving cross country in the minivan.
We went to Disney when I remember this was 94 or 95, whatever, because we got back to Illinois and I got my driver's license and I was still tan. I got my driver's license like the day we got back.
Yeah.
So I was freaking 16 years old before I went to Disney. I mean, I went to Disney when I was like 5 or 6, didn't remember it. Right. And that's why I waited until this moment to go to Disney, right? So I've got 12 as my oldest, 5 as my youngest. I'm like, we probably ain't coming back. So you're going to remember this.
Right.
And I got to be honest, your wife doesn't listen to this anymore, you said?
No, she does.
Okay, so I'm gonna come out with this, and she'll probably hate me or disown me as your friend. I actually really did not like Disney World. I've said it. I have put it out there in the universe. I didn't care for it. And my kids, to be honest, they didn't care for it either. So we went down. It was in January, so it was an off-peak month, obviously. And there was a deal at Universal Studios: buy 2 days, get 2 days totally free.
Okay.
Right? And my kids, we go to Six Flags here, which is Six Flags Great America. And so they are well-versed in roller coasters. Even my 5-year-old, well-versed. She will go on anything that she is tall enough to go on. Yeah. And so, going to Disney World, there were a lot of things that were much more of a carnival variety, right? The boats, or not the boats, the
Small World?
The Small World, like that. Like she was actually kind of creeped out by the animatronical, dusty, robots, even though it was very nostalgic for me and my kids thought it was interesting. But like the Dumbo ride, like that's any carnival would have anything just like that. It just wouldn't look like Dumbo. The teacups, any carnival would have that. It was just called something else. And so, Space Mountain was cool and the mine ride was cool. And there were a few others, Haunted Mansion and whatnot. But at Universal, I mean, they are, even all four of my kids, huge Harry Potter fans. So that was amazing. Have you been to Universal recently?
I did the one in California a couple of years ago.
Okay, so there's a ride at Universal Studios or Universal Islands of Adventure, and it's a Hogwarts ride where you go through Hogwarts. It is probably the best ride I have ever been on.
Because the company I work for made that ride.
It's unbelievable. And it is like, it's a 4D ride. So there is like steam in your face and spider spit and dragon venom and or smoke or whatever. And, it uses both roller coaster-esque. It uses,
the video,
and then it's very interactive. And the entire Hogwarts castle is unbelievable. And we got to go through a separate line because we had kind of a extra special fast pass, and we got to see parts of the castle that most people don't get to see. And one of the nights we were the last ride on it, so they escorted us out a different way that most people don't get to see. I was so impressed with Universal, and I don't know if it was a busy day at Disney or what, but I felt like the customer service wasn't what I expected. That was still good, and they were very kind, but Universal went above and beyond. I was totally impressed. So anyways, that's kind of my review of my particular vacation. Then we even took one day and we just went to the beach. And that by far, kind of like your Disney cruise and your excursions, snorkeling or scuba diving or whatever, that beach day was my favorite day. And I think the kids' favorite day too, because it wasn't the crowds and the lines and all the rest. It was just being together as a family, playing in the ocean, getting pummeled by 6-foot waves. So they loved it.
So there is something I think that's very, very key to highlight on, because I've talked to people about this, because I grew up going to Six Flags Great America. Six Flags Great America is an amusement park. It is themed around, like, here's ride after ride after ride after ride after ride. Whereas
Disney's a theme
park. And so it's more of like we want you to enjoy the magical kind of atmosphere and the theme, and we're going to do fireworks and we're going to put on these shows and it's going to be clean and, there's going to be characters walking around. You feel like you're in a fairy tale when you're in like the Magic Kingdom at Disney World, or when you're just at Disneyland, right? Because you go through the castle and there's, you don't have the kind of the carnival-esque aspect when you go to like Great America, when it's like, throw the rings on the bottle and win the, stuffed animal, shoot the water at the little ducks, like shoot the basketballs. Like they don't have that kind of stuff at all anywhere, right? So it's a theme park versus an amusement park, and they're different. And if you're in love with one but not the other one, trying to go to that other one you're not in love with, I can easily see how it's not going to maybe hit you the way you would hope it would. Whereas, like, my kids have never been to an amusement park yet. They've only been to theme parks. So for them, like the teacups, the Dumbo ride, like they love those things. They just love them.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Because they've never been on a roller coaster. They've been on the roller coasters at Disneyland and Disney World. And, my kids are still a little young to ride, big roller coasters. But I can't wait till they get old enough, because Daddy wants to take them on some. Because I love amusement parks. I mean, amusement park, you just go bang, 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 one to the next. So you got to kind of know your audience, right? You got to kind of know what you're into. But getting back to the thing, like you were saying, like, your coworker, I didn't grow up going to big kind of destination vacations. So for me, like, going every few years feels like a lot. It really does. Yeah. We went to Disneyland in April of 2018, and then in February of 2019, I did Disney World for a week and then a Disney cruise. That feels like I've done a heck of a lot of Disney recently. But that being said, like the Disney cruise was amazing, and I got to get off of these port excursions. So I got off in Tortola, which is a British Virgin Island, and then I got off at St. Thomas, which is in the Virgin Islands. It's U.S. owned. And then also Disney has their own private beach called Castaway Cay. And like being able to get out and go zip lining and seeing, Tortola through kind of these trees, these treetops, and driving around the island was really kind of cool. I mean, you could see that it had been ravaged by the hurricane, and they were there's so much infrastructure there that's just still down and not there. Whereas like St. Thomas is like, they had the same hurricane, but like you can tell like they've been rebuilding better and had more money. And I went scuba diving there and had this great time. And then Castaway Keys is just this beautiful, beautiful island, beautiful water in the Caribbean. And so like, it's something that I look at now and I go, okay, I want to go back and I want to do this vacation, but I maybe want to do it without the kids, have a little more just kind of relaxing time. But there is something, I think, whether it's the road trip, the Clark W. Griswold, road trip to Wally World, and you're going to drive cross country with your kids, or whether it's, the actual theme park, whether it's you take your kids camping, like there is just something that like, I don't know if we're trained to think this way, but like as a father, like you want to provide your kids with better than you grew up with and give them more opportunities. And I think that's reflected in the whole like Great American Vacation. Like, I want to take them and do things. And so this summer, I really want to take my boys out camping, and we live around so many national parks, and I've never taken them to any of them. And so like, I want to do that because I can do that cheaper, and I can, find ways to do that. Like, what do you like to do, like, with your kids? I mean, obviously you said Six Flags, but like, do you want to take them and like give them like other experiences, not just like here's an amusement park or here's a theme park, but.
So I would say, we've done a lot of vacations, but again, they've been kind of very old school Norman Rockwell-esque. We've gone to Mammoth Caves down in Kentucky and we've hiked that. We went through the Smoky Mountains a few years ago. We went to Charleston, South Carolina. We toured like the Yorktown, which is a huge aircraft carrier, and then walked around the city. We've gone to Michigan and gone to Traverse City and up in the dunes and whatnot. And what I've found, and we've also, along those trips, sometimes we've stopped at like, theme parks along the way, but they were never the destination. And what I found with this Disney experience, and mentioning, going to Cocoa Beach, which is right off of Cape Canaveral, a beautiful beach, is it is so often, and I would say most often, those organic times when, like you said, going hiking or going, we're on a hike. We did a family reunion out in Colorado and we went and hiked Pikes Peak. I did that without my kids because they can't climb 14,000 feet.
Right.
But some of those just like, going through a hike in the woods or going camping and laying on your back, while you're looking at the stars. And those are the times that for me are the most rewarding, that epitomize the Great American Family Vacation, because it really is a time when you as the dad don't have to work. You as the mom don't have to cook, clean, do whatever, or work or whatever you have to do. You, the kids, don't have to be in school, and you can really focus on one another. And that's really the beauty of a vacation, right? Is to be able to just focus on each other. So I'm a huge fan of vacations, but I don't think they have to be big, right? Sometimes we just go up to Wisconsin Dells, and my parents have a timeshare there. We just go up there and spend a few days in the water park. But we also try, anytime we do it, to have some organic time as well. That's why we had a day at the beach that was just us sitting on the beach collecting seashells. That was their favorite day too. Yeah. We've and the other thing that I wanted to bring up as we talk about this is that, when I look at like the Disney vacation, we did it very, very inexpensively. We stayed at a VRBO that was like $77 a night for like a 3-bedroom, 2,500 square foot VRBO, 10 minutes from Disney. We rented a van. It was really cheap. We ate in most meals. And so we did it really cheaply. But if I take that $3,000 or $4,000 that I spend to go to Disney, that is somewhat, in my opinion, a sterile vacation. It's kind of a package, sterile, whatever. And take that same $4,000 or $5,000 and I want to go to Costa Rica. And I feel like I do, and this sounds so silly. Now that I've checked off the Disney box, I'm like, I'm free to travel the globe now,
Right.
Like, I mean, it is like a rite of passage. And so we've done that rite of passage, and they've done it, and we're good. And I want to go to Costa Rica. I want to stay on the side of a volcano. I want to zip line, like you said, through the longest zip line in the world, and have monkeys jump on our porch and eat food out of my kids' hands. That is what I want.
Yeah.
I want something that is not packaged in a nice little bow and box. I want to divert off the trail and find some local eatery that nobody knows about that you could get salmonella from, or it could be the best meal you ever had. That's what I want from a vacation.
See, it's interesting that you said like the day at the beach was like your kid's favorite day, right? Kind of like the down day, you wasn't standing in the lines. And when we were in the Bahamas at the Disney's Castaway Cay, their like private island, like Jackson wanted to get in the ocean and swim a bunch. And so we put on the little life vest that they provided, and we got out in the water. And of course, like we all got burned because like we applied sunscreen a few times, but we were out there like all day. Charlie just wanted to like make sandcastles, and then he'd like go down to the water and like get a bucket full of water, walk back up in the sand, dump it onto the sand, and make kind of like a little muddy spot for just a minute or two until it dried back out.
Yeah.
And he'd stand in it, and he liked the way it felt on his toes. And so like he just kept doing that over and over again, and like they dig and find seashells. And they said that day was like one of their favorite days, even though like we did all these other amazing things.
Yeah.
They said like that was one of their favorite days. And I kind of feel, Steve, like you, where like now I've been out of the country for the first time ever. I had to get a passport for this trip.
Oh, nice.
I've never done that before. We've done Disneyland. We've done Disney World. We went to the Caribbean and the Bahamas. It's like, okay, Brita and I want to go to Hawaii for our 10th anniversary. So it's like, I want to go, and I went scuba diving, and I'm going to go get certified here to scuba. So I don't have to like take the class. I can just like go scuba wherever, because
that's awesome.
I enjoyed it and it was a lot of fun. But like, I want to do that. I want to make, I'm kind of like you, maybe like find some place that I can say, okay, we're going to do this, kids. So I'm talking about the idea of like taking our kids to some of the national parks near us. Like we went to San Francisco last summer for just like a quick weekend. We stayed in Sacramento and we drive into San Francisco every day. And like we went, across the Golden Gate Bridge, and we took the boat kind of around in the bay. And, we went to the Walt Disney Family Museum, and we just kind of like, explored the city as best we could, explored the piers. We went to like the Jelly Belly Museum and like where they make the Jelly Bellies and whatnot.
Yes.
And the kids loved that. Of course, it's candy, right? But like that was a fun vacation, and it was open. Like we were like, okay, we want to do a few things. We want to do this, maybe do that, but nothing like we had to plan it out for like a whole week. And so I'm kind of like you. I maybe want to say, okay, let's make the next bigger vacation. Let's just pick a destination and then just go there and just have an adventure and figure out what to do and go somewhere new, see something different. Get out of the country. Like maybe go to Costa Rica. I personally would like to go back to the Caribbean or maybe Hawaii. I mean, just because I feel like there's so much more we could have seen and explored. But I also want my kids to be a little bit older because I want them to be able to do some of these bigger things and be able to experience it so they remember doing those things and not just like, oh yeah, I got a picture. We took a selfie here. I guess I was in the Bahamas once. Right? Versus like, oh, I remember, doing snorkeling with my dad in the Bahamas.
Yeah, I mean, some of my greatest adventures have been unplanned, right? Like, I remember we were on a cruise with some friends back before I was actually married, but my wife didn't come on the cruise with me because I won it from a sales competition anyway. And so we went down to Puerto Vallarta, and we just got in this cab. We're like, hey, take us to some place where we can rent horses. And like, oh, my cousin, take you to my cousin. Go to this guy. He's like half drunk. He gives us horses. And like, we're supposed to follow him up to this place called Eden, which oddly enough for our viewers or our listeners is where the last scene in Predator was filmed. Ooh. The original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's where he gets the crap beat out of him by the Predator. Anyway, so we're riding up, and my horse is this young buck horse that keeps trying to butt in front of the line and finally just takes off in a full-on run and literally runs for like 5 minutes through streams, along ridges that I could have fallen off of, and then stops at this cantina. He obviously knew where to go. He's like on autopilot. And that was friggin' one of the best adventures. And then we got in a rope swing. We swung on, Another time I was in Ketchikan, Alaska, and I saw orca whales in the wild, and they came up to like 5 feet from our boat, and then they slapped the water with this isn't SeaWorld, this is like in the wild, in the inland passage in Alaska. And I took a float plane there, like freaking Baloo used to go through on
Tailspin?
Was it Tailspin? Yeah, so it's just like some of those things, and yeah, so that's what I look for. It is in the next probably phase of our lives, because like you said, our kids are getting a little bit older where they can start to do zip lines. They can start to get, be on the back of a 4-wheel drive vehicle where we go through a stream and things like that I really want to experience. I want to go to Europe. I have never been to Europe. There's so much history there. There's so many cool things to see. Ireland and Scotland and England and France.
Maybe you and I take that vacation and we go over to Scotland together or something. Why were you making like a French accent when I said Scotland? You went raw.
I was thinking of, all I've been thinking about since you mentioned it was Peter Christensen's pastries that he enjoyed.
You mean Pierre Christensen.
Pierre Christensen.
Okay, Steve. So let me ask you this. Let's kind of button this up, and we'll ask this to our super friends for our question of the week. If you could choose anywhere to kind of take like, the family vacation, like the great American family vacation, this idea that, as a father, you've got to do this thing. And it doesn't have to be in America. You could go anywhere in the world. Where would you choose to go and why? Now, you can do this 2 parts. You can either say just for you and your spouse or your family. I don't care either way, because some of our, super friends may not have kids.
So I would say that I would either like to travel throughout Europe, because I feel like, you don't just say I'm going to Italy or I'm going to France or I'm going to Spain. I would love to travel throughout Europe. I mean, Spain I hear is amazing. The architecture there, the food in Italy, the mountains in the Alps in Switzerland, Paris, all of those things. And there's just so much history there. I hear, Prague is amazing. And all these places, Denmark and all the rest. So that's one that I would love to do just for the history of it. I think there's just so much history. We don't know, we think, something built in the early 1900s is old here. Right. We have no idea what that is,
Yeah.
To see the Colosseum, to see the Sistine Chapel. So that would be probably number one. I'd love to go there. Second, Costa Rica. I really, as I mentioned previously, I really want to go to Costa Rica. I hear it's lush. I have some friends that have gone there. They literally stayed on the side of a volcano, an active volcano. I think there's just a lot of, and that would be less tourist, like, look at this museum, look at that museum. It would be more just getting out there and true adventure, zip lines, 4-wheel driving, horseback riding, all of those things. I'd love to do. So those 2 are my top 2 choices.
Nice. I like that.
What about you?
For me, I think I want to go back down to the Caribbean and the Bahamas again. I feel like I got a taste of it, but I didn't get enough of it. And so I'd like to go back there, and I'd like to do some more open water scuba diving, and I really, if I'd been certified, I could have been able to go in like a pirate ship that was, wrecked and, that was, sunken and submerged. That would be so cool. Like, it would be really cool to go down to some of these areas and because there's like rich history of like pirates and pirate adventures, and like that has always appealed to me. So I'd like to do some more of that. I would love to go to like the South Pacific, like Fiji, go down there and Samoa,
I hear there are a lot of snakes there. It's either Fiji or Guam have like overrun with snakes. Like somebody brought like one snake like 20 years ago and they've multiplied all over the place.
You bring a machete, you'll be fine.
That's right. But
no, like I would love to do kind of something like the South Pacific. You can kind of see the theme. Like I want to go to like tropical places. But if I'm not doing that, like I do like the idea of Europe for a lot of the same reasons, the history, and there's, so many cool things to see. And honestly, like you can get around Europe like just as easy as you can get between a few of the states here in the US. There's so many,
That's right.
Such diverse history there. It would be really cool. I also think going to like Australia and New Zealand would be really cool. I mean, I would love to go to, Hobbiton, go to Middle Earth, and go there. And that's kind of on my bucket list of things to do. I don't think you and I can go make that trip because Brita would kill me.
See you in a month.
If I went without her. But there's a lot of places still, in the U.S. that I haven't been as well that I would, love to go and check things out. Like I haven't spent much time up in the, the Northeast.
Pacific Northwest.
I've done some of the Pacific North, but I spent like 2 days in New York City, like on Manhattan and a little bit of Brooklyn, but like I haven't been to like Boston, or I went to Washington D.C. when I was in like 6th grade. I've never been to like South Carolina. Like that would be kind of cool to go to anyway. But I'm going to say that my top places, they would be more the Caribbean and the Bahamas, or like Fiji, the South Pacific. That's where I'd like to go.
Yeah, well, as it's -4 here in Chicago tonight, I would like to go there as well.
Right, exactly. It was so hard coming back home. But Super Friends, I want to hear from you. If you could choose to take your family on vacation, or your spouse, significant other, where would you choose to go and why? You can let us know at all the normal places. Our email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/fortofnerd, Twitter @fortofnerd, Instagram fortofnerd, or you can call us in and leave a voicemail, 801-477-7687. Steve, man, this was so much fun. I'm glad you were able to come in and visit once again. I love doing this, and I was glad you were able to be here.
The pleasure was all mine, my friend. Thank you so much for inviting me.
We got to have Carrie go on vacation more often, baby.
Yeah, no, please, no. Please.
All right, Super Friends. Steve will return at some point down the road when, Carrie's gone for maybe a day, not a full week. How about that, Steve? Does that work?
That is a deal. You got yourself a deal.
Well, you're, like I said, you're always welcome anytime. You just call me up and say, hey, I got something to talk about, and I'll put you on. All right, Super Friends. Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.